Hey you guys, this morning I made the carnivore rolls and they turned out pretty good. They are a little bit dry, but with plenty of butter, they're good. My husband tasted it, he loved it, but he said it would be better with honey. And I guess if you're a carnivore that likes honey, then you could put it on there. But for me, I just added a little bit of extra butter and it was fine. They were good. Has a very cornbread type texture to it. So I think it's a great base to start with and we'll build up from there. But I started thinking about something. These would make great biscuits and gravy. Yum! So we're gonna do a carnivore sausage gravy and then my husband can have these biscuits with the gravy. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with 1 pound of sausage. I'm gonna brown it in a skillet and crumble it all up, and I'm gonna leave the grease in the skillet. Then I'll add about 2 tablespoons of the butter, and we're gonna go with 1 cup of chicken broth, 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, and I have 1 tablespoon of beef gelatin. If you have not seen the video to the carnivore rolls, I'll put a link right here on how I made it. So all of this came to my mind after tasting that, and I thought that would be really good with some sausage gravy. So stick around and we will make this sausage gravy and see how it tastes on the rolls. So after the sausage is all browned, you are going to now put in a couple tablespoons of butter. You do not have to be exact on this. 2 to 3 tablespoons is good. And this is where you're going to want to use a whisk, because after this is melted, we are going to be putting in the liquids, getting it all mixed up, and then we definitely need the whisk for when we put in the gelatin. Okay, so our butter's all melted. I'm going to start with the chicken broth. You can use bone broth too. Just keep in mind that bone broth does get a bit thicker, so you may not want to use as much gelatin if you use bone broth. So you can use your own chicken broth, you could use canned. If you have to, you could use a bouillon. Or even if you wanted, you could probably just use water and just add some seasoning so that it doesn't taste too bland. So that chicken broth is all in there. I am going to add the 2 cups of milk and we are going to heat this up. Actually, I'm going to add the 2 cups of heavy cream. Sorry, not milk. See if we can get you a little bit closer here. So all that's left is the gelatin. I am just going to get this hot and I'm going to add some pepper. So I am adding pepper here. I like pepper and seasonings don't seem to affect me. So at this point you can taste your broth and make sure that it tastes good. If you need to, you add salt, add more pepper or whatever other kind of seasonings that you like. Some people like to add garlic. We also need to remember that when we put gelatin in, we need to whisk it right away so it doesn't clump up, and it does thicken after it cools a bit. So we can always start with less and add more if we need to. So this again is 1 tablespoon of gelatin. And I'm going to be adding about half and we'll see how that works out. And then I'll think about adding more if I need it. So this is grass-fed beef gelatin. If you did not have beef gelatin, you could use the regular gelatin. You could use Knox gelatin. That's all carnivore too. So as it thickens, the separation of the chicken broth and the butter should all come together. So it shouldn't look like different colors of yellow and white. If it doesn't and it's different colors, it doesn't matter. We are not impressing anybody. We just want it to taste good. If you end up making it too thick, once it cools and you want to reheat it, you could always put a little bit of extra cream or water in it when you reheat it to thin it out. You could use beef broth in this as well, but I chose to use chicken because it is not as strong as beef broth, so I think it would go with the sausage flavor better. If you had pork broth, you could use that. You could basically use any broth. You could use turkey broth too, or any other kind of broth that you make or buy if you buy it. It is starting to simmer a little bit, so we are going to keep stirring it. When you stir gravy in a skillet, one thing that I look for is if you can stir and you see a glimpse of the bottom, you know it's starting to thicken up. This is still really watery. So this kind of gravy is not real finicky. You know, like if you're trying to make mayonnaise and you have to be real careful with the eggs, otherwise you'll break your emulsion. This is not going to be as finicky as making something like that. So this gravy is pretty forgiving. We just have to get creative about thickening it up because we're not using flour. I can see it's definitely starting to get a little bit thicker. Now as this cools, it's going to get a little bit thicker. So I don't think I'm going to add any more gelatin. I might just turn the heat off and let it cool a few minutes and see how it is from there. When I'm stirring, I can kind of see under a thin layer of the gravy, the skillet. I don't know if you guys can see that, so I know it's getting thicker. Okay, I'm going to turn this off and let it cool, and we will let this cool about 5 to 10 minutes and see how thick it gets. And if it's still real watery like this, we may add some more gelatin, but if not, we are going to be good to go, and we can just serve this in a bowl over those biscuits and see how it tastes. So we'll be back. Stick around. All right, you guys, that's what it looks like. It looks pretty good. I am hollering at my husband, so he's going to come out here and taste this in just a second. So that is totally carnivore biscuits and gravy. Hopefully you approve. I tasted the gravy and it's delicious, in my opinion. Do you like it? Does it taste like home? Mm-hmm. It's pretty good, right? But now I gotta make more biscuits because they're all gone. You think you'd like that again?
Yes, it's delicious.
All right, so there you have it, folks. The biscuits are great with the carnivore sausage gravy, so go ahead and make it. You will not be disappointed.
Your husband will love it.
Yes, he will. So that is going to be your lunch. It's about noon. It's noon, 12:16, so I can say that. There's more gravy, and we have a little bit of biscuits, but I cut them all up. All right, so he is going to finish his lunch, and I'm going to get off here. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next time. And until then, stop eating processed foods.